Welcome into a Monday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, live here, presented by Go Chevrolet. Remember, online at GEAUXchevrolet.com. Great new selections over there at Go Chevrolet. Check them out in LaPlace, Louisiana, or down here in Baton Rouge over at Go Express Auto Sales on the corner of Florida and Sherwood Forest, our title sponsor here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Jack is out today. Katie's here. Noah's back off of a week-long vacation. Lizzie's behind the camera. We are going to talk to Brent Zwerneman of the Houston Chronicle this morning. Brent was one of the guys over at the Houston Chronicle who broke the story of A&M and Oklahoma joining the SEC last week during SEC Media Days. We will talk to Brent about some of the stuff that happened over the weekend, including Texas A&M meeting with their board of directors, the Big 12, having a conference call with Texas and Oklahoma with their board of directors. All types of stuff happening with the new conference realignment that looks imminent at this point. We'll talk to Brent coming up here at 8 o'clock this morning. New segment is we'll talk about the weekend heroes, things that stood out over the weekend. We will highlight that coming up here.
I didn't do any production
on this morning on the Jordy Culotta Show. Much expected, Lloyd.
Yeah, well,
much expected.
Well, retired this weekend. I had my other job that I had to do. I was hired for the weekend.
Yes.
I was busy.
Katie spent the weekend away from her home, which means that there was a lottery with the Jordy Culotta Show.
Noah was out of town, so your boy got the golden ticket.
Who was going to be the house sitter, the goat feeder, and Lloyd was the man this weekend.
Big pull
we
for
made
Lloyd.
a pop in.
Yeah, excellent.
Yes.
And I was wondering if Jordy brought the kids over. Wonder if we may or may not have gone too hard in the pool on him. It got contentious. Your son does not
kids?
like to lose.
Yes. Yes, we had it. We had a nice little conversation on the way home.
What? Are y'all serious?
It was real, and that's what made me wonder. I played. It was 2v2, and we beat them to a pulp.
Yes.
21-2, and then 21-2.
They needed it.
Exactly. That's what I was wondering.
Wait, who against who?
Jordy and Lloyd against Jay and his friend. I don't know his name. He couldn't shoot.
Okay.
But
so adults against children.
Yes.
Okay.
Luke Sotil.
Luke.
2 10-year-olds versus a couple of adults.
My feet are so sore.
Bro, my feet are done.
I'm like my
Why are your
abs.
feet sore from being
Because we were
bleeding.
playing off the top step.
They got these kids. They were going from the top step and trying to dunk. I got yammed on twice.
You did get yammed
but
on,
then
bro.
who
Yeah,
put one back
you
on the
did.
poster, and then
You
it
did.
got real. It got
You
real
did.
in the pool for a second, and then I looked back and I was like, oh my God. Did we try too hard? Like, after it was over, I was competing, but we beat them so badly. And I was like, I wonder if I should text Jordy and how'd that go? Because his son was upset.
I don't think that we did.
We could have beat him worse.
He needed it.
I think so, too.
Really and truly. I mean, he was like draining shots from in and out of the pool and like just talking too much
shit.
trash. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a talker. You know, so I mean, he gets it honest.
He is 100% your kid.
He gets it honest.
That is so funny.
But it was too much.
Yeah, it had to be put in
too
place.
much, right? I mean, he was the one that separated the teams. I mean, we were like, "You sure you want to do this?
Are you
sure you want to do this?"
Y'all two versus us two. We're like, are you for real?
He was confident.
Hey, well, not anymore.
No, he was shook all weekend.
He was.
Yeah, he was shook all weekend.
Good.
But
I thought about
you know what?
that.
You need that.
Okay.
You need that in life.
I agree.
You
I
need that
agree.
in
It's a
life.
good a little humbling moment for
Needs to
him.
be checked a little bit.
Yeah.
I told him, anytime you want more, bro, we're here.
Katie's pool is always
You
open.
let us know, man. Just let us know. Just let us know. Because you sure are quiet this morning.
He did. It was
Yeah.
funny. It reminded me of, like, I remember being, how old is he, 10? 12?
Yeah, 10.
10? Yeah. Like, you just, I mean, by all intents and purposes, he probably is like one of the best athletes at his school, I would imagine. So he doesn't get humbled often.
Yeah.
And it happened, and he hated it.
I loved it.
I loved it. Just us two in sunglasses just beating the shit out of 10-year-old kids.
No sunscreen.
Nothing.
Just baking out there.
Little they know our feet are bleeding. Like,
Yes. I mean, I've been limping all weekend,
too,
bro.
dude, I'm so
all
sore.
weekend. I can't even move.
the calves. Worth it.
But what a weekend, man. The heat this weekend was
heat.
here. I love that, though. I love the
like
South.
that kind of heat?
I love it. I love that South
It's
Louisiana heat.
oppressive.
It is. It is. But that is what that's what we were born in. That's what we grew up in. I just, to me, it's home.
Separates you.
It is home.
Yes. Getting somebody from here, like not from here, to come here, like
Yes.
There's like an LSU football player that came in for the fall. Like he signed with LSU. You should probably know his name.
No, I know exactly who you're talking about. He was from California, and he transferred to Cal. He ended up playing in the league for a while.
He was good.
He was with that Dwayne Bowe, Craig Davis, that class.
That signing class.
Yeah.
And he went to LSU for one practice, and it was a fall, like it was a dog days of summer. He goes, out of here.
Yeah.
Never mind. Like y'all are nuts.
Yeah, Saban was like I had like brought him in and asked him on like after practice he was like packed up and leaving. And I like brought him in the office and like made a last ditch effort. He's like, no way, bro. He's like, I'm not living in this heat, man. I'm going home.
You didn't hit the levee yet.
Yes. All right. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about this conference realignment stuff is crazy, and the news is continuing to come out this weekend. As we said, we'll talk to Brent Zwinnerman from the Houston Chronicle at 8 a.m. this morning and get the latest on Texas A&M. What's it mean for the Big 12? How fast could this happen? Many expect the announcement to come as early as this week. We will talk to Brent about that coming up here in the 8 o'clock hour this morning. Like we said, we got a new segment. We'll talk about the heroes of the weekend, some of the things that stood out over the weekend. All of our coffee down here at the Jordy Culotta Show is presented or brewed locally by Majestic Brews. Remember, you can find out for yourself online at deliciousstips.com, and our water is provided by True Blue Water. True Blue Water is the official water of the Jordy Culotta Show. So make sure and check them out online at trubluewater.com to get a membership and get the water updated for you. All right, Team USA basketball. What the hell, bro? I mean, like, did y'all watch the game?
They don't care.
They played it 3 times yesterday. They played the they played the replay. I think the live edition of it was yesterday at 7 o'clock in the morning. So if you were following it on social media, which I kind of was. And then I saw the highlights, and then last night I watched a little bit of the second half. I mean, they had their chances. They were up as much as 10 in the first half. They were up 6 with, I believe, 7 minutes left to play.
They had a lead in the third, right?
Oh, yeah, they had a lead in the fourth.
I mean, they just shouldn't lose.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
74-73, and Evan Fournier
Fournier's a
France.
dog, bro.
Yeah, he is.
He's a dog.
And
Wait, is he? He was for the
I
mean,
Celtics. He was like
yesterday-
0 for 30
yesterday
whenever he
he
played
was.
in the NBA.
Yesterday he
Celtics,
was.
he hasn't played well, but before that, he was like legit shooter. Doesn't do anything else, but that was it. But yeah, he hit a 3, put him up. And then Team USA had 3 shots.
Yeah, 3.
In like the final 30 seconds.
And pretty much everybody who you would want to touch it.
Kevin Durant was wide open into a pull up at the top of the key.
Lillard.
And then
Kronos.
what's his name? Drew Holiday in the corner with a 3, and they just
Bang,
And it was-
bang,
it was fun.
bang.
Clank,
I mean,
clank,
like,
clank.
clank,
5-on-4.
clank, bro.
France had a player on the ground. It was 5-on-4.
So they just don't give a shit. They don't want to be
That's what
there.
it seems like. They don't care.
You know, I mean, like, it seemed like the ones who seemed like they cared the most in watching was Devin Booker, who
Right.
just got off of a 66,000-mile, whatever. I mean,
Right.
the travel that him and Drew Holiday had in a day is unreal. To really, I mean, you had to imagine that was somehow messing with them. Holiday had 18 points. He missed a game-winning opportunity, as Noah described. But I mean, it's just it's a weird makeup of
Yeah.
a team. Like
They don't fit.
They really
They
don't
don't fit at all.
fit. I don't know what they're trying to do from it's like the style that you want to play. KD didn't play an extended
Yeah.
amount of minutes. I mean, if he's going to be on the team and you're in a game like that, to me, he can't come off the floor.
Right.
I mean, I don't understand how you. I know that this is kind of bonus basketball for these guys, but if you're signing up to play in the Olympics, if you're Kevin Durant,
Yeah.
you can't be on a minutes restriction, right? I mean, like when you get into a game like this, he's got to be on the floor. I mean, it doesn't seem like they're in that. They don't have any chemistry. They don't have any type of cohesiveness.
It feels like none of them want to be there.
Yeah.
It's
Well, it feels like that. Like Bradley Beal and Kevin Love leave, like couldn't do it, whatever. And you promote Keldon Johnson, then bring in JaVale McGee. Like nothing against JaVale McGee, but he's not an Olympian.
right.
You get the best players in the league that will come. And the fact that Trae Young and Zion are still sitting at home make no sense.
Did they get asked to come to the Olympics or did they not? Like, did they turn it down?
Trae Young didn't get asked because he's promoted saying he wants to be there.
You don't want Trae Young on your team?
And you can't shoot. And that's the deal. Like, they can't shoot.
They can't shoot at all.
I mean,
that's all they're doing.
They can't score, and Trae Young is
that guy
and wants to be there.
Yeah.
Has there been a coach with the reputation of Greg Popovich fall off
this quickly?
The way that we've seen him go into the last 4 or 5 years? I mean, at one time, Popovich was deemed the best coach in sports.
Well, it just shows, just like Tom Brady, it's not the system, it's the players that make the system. Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili aren't there anymore to buy in, and it's completely gone downhill from there.
And he looks like he has no impact on this team.
At all.
Like, it doesn't seem like he has any type of say-so, any type of impact of what's happening on the floor. And just in watching him move on the sidelines, he has no...
They've kind of taken on that persona, it seems like. They're all kind of like, what are we kind of doing here?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, and I get that. I feel like I'm kind of checked out of the Olympics because the no fans thing hits, and you're just like, well, that's what the Olympics is supposed to be about. It's the pageantry. It almost harkens you back to college when you're playing for the colors.
Yeah.
Like, you're playing for the red, white, and blue, but not having anybody there. And it just seems like they're kind of checked out once the fans aren't there. Then you like hear about their living situation. Like, I'm sleeping on cardboard boxes. Like, what are we doing here? Like, let's just pack this thing up.
Yeah.
Lillard was 3 for 10. Durant was 4 for 12. Team USA shot 31% from behind the line. They, I don't know, man. It was bad basketball. I mean, it was bad, hard to watch. I mean, Rudy Gobert had 9 rebounds. He was able to play a certain style that the Americans just couldn't match up with. I mean, I'm sitting around thinking of like players like Ja Morant,
right?
Zion Williamson, Trae Young. I mean, some of these guys that have youthful legs, young energy, that need to be out there, that want to be there,
and are still better than veterans that are from other countries. Like, even though they're like 20 years old, they're still better than some of these 27, 28-year-old guys.
I mean, we can't be getting domed up by Evan Fournier.
Right.
It was bad yesterday, man. I don't know. I really don't know if they're going to medal. I mean,
I have no idea.
I can't see them in a scenario where this team can flip the switch.
Well, yeah, with the exhibition games, everybody was saying, well, these games don't count.
Yeah,
well, now the games count.
Right.
And we still lost.
So since 1992, Team USA is 53-4, including yesterday's loss. So that was the 4th loss since Dream Team. Since Michael Jordan and that crew went to Barcelona in 1992, they've only had 4 losses. Yesterday was the 4th loss of Team USA. They will play Iran on Wednesday for finishing up group play. So it'll be interesting to see where the Team USA goes here. But I don't see how they get this right, and I don't see a scenario really where, I mean, this does not look like a team that's going to medal. I mean, so to say that out loud, I think the last time that they didn't win gold was 2004. 2004.
LeBron, that was a young LeBron.
Yeah, young
and
LeBron.
They had the hats. They had like the little like cigarette French hats, you know, back in the day. So style was crazy then.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2004. Then you fast forward 16 years since then, 17 years, and you're not going to medal. You're calling no medal.
At this point, I mean, who would you see that team beating? I mean, I know France is a good squad, but I mean, you put this team up against some of the. I mean, did you see what Luka did yesterday?
Luka did it by himself. He's doing it by himself.
He is doing it by himself. I mean,
48-11.
But I mean, just look around. Argentina. I mean, I know that some of these teams aren't what they used to be, but Team USA is nothing close to where they even look competitive. They don't look like they're bought in at all. And when you have pros and guys that are looking to make names for themselves, I mean, they look at Team USA like blood in the water. I mean, there's sharks swimming around Team USA.
And I think that's probably half of it. Is like Team USA doesn't have they don't have the want to be there. Right. And then every other team is looking at Team USA like, this is our chance to make a move. Like, this is our chance to plant our flag and be able to say, look, we're coming here.
Yeah.
Like, we want to win the gold, and it doesn't seem like maybe that the Olympic basketball team wants to.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. All right, Daily, we're brought to you by A-Bear Specialty Meats. Remember, you can find A-Bear Specialty Meats in 2 locations, one right here in Baton Rouge, the other located over in Prairieville in the Dutchtown Shopping Center. Lunch available at both locations, so stop in and see them. They've got, over in Baton Rouge, great chili dogs. They've got a seafood po' boy selection, either catfish or shrimp to choose from, a sausage po' boy, a chicken salad sandwich that they offer every day on the menu for if you want to keep it light. But while you're waiting on your lunch, you can check out what's happening in the freezer. You can bring home steaks, hamburgers, of course, the deboned stuffed chicken that they're famous for. You can throw one on the in the oven tonight and feed the family very easily. Find A-Bear Specialty Meats on social media. They're on Facebook. They're on Instagram. Stop in and check them out for lunch today. Very convenient, especially right here in Baton Rouge, moving around. It's been new to the area with their lunch. It just started to happen a couple of weeks back. So if you're looking for a new selection, a new stop for lunch, and you're around Jefferson Highway and right in around Mid-City, stop in and check out A-Bear Specialty Meats on Jefferson Highway, as they'll be getting you set. NFL training camps are getting going later this week. It feels like football season. We told you last week in leading SEC Media Days, when you leave SEC Media Days, it feels like that you're in the season. And nothing says that more than NFL training camp starting to pop all over the place. In New Orleans will welcome training camp and get it going later this week as it begins. Their first practice will be Thursday down at the Saints facility. And some news going into training camp for New Orleans is that Mike Thomas could be out for the first part of the season, as he underwent ankle surgery in June to repair the ankle injury that he suffered during last season's opening win versus Tampa Bay. If you remember, Mike Thomas just could never get right last season after a 5-catch performance in last season's debut, where he was banged up versus Tampa Bay and his ankle just never recuperated. I think there was some sense of belief, and this is going and coming from Nick Underhill, who is the authority on New Orleans Saints information. If you're looking for the best info on the Saints, NewOrleansSaints.football or NewOrleans.football, who is the publisher over there, Nick Underhill, is the best. He's got the best relationships, and he's got fantastic information, including some of the background on this Mike Thomas, because many of people have raised red flags on why the timing on Thomas now for the surgery, which has set him back, and it looks like he'll be in question for at least maybe the first month of the season. The opener definitely looks like it's out of the question right now.
Big Scottie Pippen vibes from '97. I'm not gonna F my summer up.
Not so much, because he got the money, right? I mean, Pippen was rebelling against surgery because he didn't have the contract.
Okay.
That was kind of his stance of, if you're going to pay me so little and you're going to pay the guys around me so much, well, then I'm going to take my summer and I'm going to go have a good time, and I'll get surgery whenever I want. I'll get surgery on your time, but while I'm on my time, I'll go ahead and enjoy myself. From Mike Thomas's standpoint, he's gotten paid. I mean, Thomas has been shown the respect from the franchise that they believe he's one of the best wide receivers in the game. They pay him like that. And I think there is some sense around the facility, around Mike Thomas, that if he would have rehabilitated this ankle, there was a possibility that he could get right without surgery. So
why would he not do that, though? Like,
what?
Why wouldn't he follow the instructions and get his evaluation?
I think he tried.
Well, no, he did. So they went to so right after the season ended, they sent him to a specialist, because I think that they shut him down last season during the regular season to get him right for the postseason. So if the Saints were going to make the postseason run, they needed Thomas to be right. So they shut him down, I believe, the last month of the season to get him ready. So once they got knocked out of the playoffs, they sent him to a specialist, and the specialist says, you got 2 options. We can take a month, and you can see if we can get right without surgery. And in a month and 4 weeks from now, we'll evaluate. We'll reconsider where we're at, and then we'll come up with a plan whether we continue moving forward without surgery, or worst case scenario is
Go into the
you
night.
get surgery right then, and it doesn't put your entire next year in jeopardy, but you just miss maybe the first couple of games, maximum month to start off with. So when Thomas reported back to the Saints for the first part of summer, which was the first time that the Saints had seen him since the season ended, the team told him to get the operation. So I don't think that this is big of a dramatic story as some people want to dive into it and make it. When I first saw it, when I first heard it, I thought, is this a problem? I mean, is this going to be an issue? Is he doing this to kind of cause a disturbance?
Yeah, didn't he not go back for the second evaluation when they told him that was needed? And then he reported back to the Saints?
I didn't read that part.
Okay.
I don't know that.
That's what I
I'm
thought.
more concerned with how everything is lining up for the Saints with Marshawn Lattimore
Yes.
kind of up in the air with what happened with him in Cleveland. And then, so he probably won't be there for the start of the season. Now you have no Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
The Saints don't know who the quarterback is.
David Onyemata.
David Onyemata. It's like, it's been a cavalcade of things that have happened in a row where, I mean, how much can Sean Payton put on his plate?
Yeah.
Because
Well-
that's really the only good thing the Saints have going for
Yeah.
them is that Sean Payton is probably a top 3 coach in the NFL.
For
Yeah.
sure.
I
But
watched
it's just a
Nick's
huge
report on the news in New Orleans this weekend about it, and that's why I was thinking there was something weird about that. Like,
Well,
he was
I mean,
supposed
there
to have
is.
done
The-
something,
the-
and then he didn't follow through.
the timing on it is weird, and I will say that there was, to me, there was a lot of smoke to the Mike Thomas trade rumors last year. If you recall, I mean, there was a lot of things that he was outspoken about once he got paid that it usually looked like that wasn't in his personality, right? I mean, when he was in the first couple of years in his status in the NFL, I mean, he was kind of a guy that had gotten a reputation of just kind of a quiet soldier. You know what I mean? Like, he just kind of kept his head down, did his work, and he just happened to be one of the best in the league. And once he got paid, he became a little bit more outspoken on some things and wasn't as committed to the Saints, it looked like, outside looking in. Then, if you recall, there were some trade rumors that popped up like a couple of months after he signed that contract. I mean, it was pretty quick after they signed him to that long-term deal that they were looking to shop him. And so I don't know if the relationship between the franchise, and I'm speaking on this with this is just speculation.
Yeah.
I've got nobody that has told me anything, and I don't know anybody within the facility that would give me any information otherwise. But it just looks as if the relationship is not under the same working order as it was the first couple of years. And while it's obvious that the Saints know they have to have Thomas to be their best, it's definitely a new time. It's a new day for the Saints in the sense of you lose Drew Brees, and whether you like it or not, and look, I was one of the ones that was kind of on the naysaying side of Drew Brees, especially over the last couple of seasons of his career. But he was the face of the franchise for the last decade plus. You lose him. You mentioned the Mike Thomas stuff with the surgery now, setting him back physically. You don't know where he's going to be in the first month of the season. At some point, Marshawn Lattimore is going to get some type of consequence for having an illegal possession of a gun in a traffic stop while up in Ohio over the last couple of months. And then David Onyemata is going to miss the first 6 weeks of the season after failing a PED test. So, I mean, you take some of those guys. I mean, one of those issues for the Saints
It's plenty.
is enough. I mean, the fact that you're losing Drew Brees and trying to replace him is maybe one of the biggest storylines in the league. I mean, outside of what's happening with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay right now, people are looking in the NFC and saying, what's New Orleans going to be in life after Drew Brees? Well, if you really dive into the Saints in life after Brees, they're trying to replace him. They still don't know what's going to happen to their lockdown cornerback and Marshawn Lattimore. It looks like Mike Thomas is going to be out the first couple of weeks of the season, and one of the faces and one of the major producers on their defensive line is not going to be there for the first 6 weeks of the season. I mean, yes, while Sean Payton has a reputation and is considered one of the brightest minds and best coaches in the league, this is a hell of a hill he's got to climb.
And I'm not exactly sure what Jameis is even doing. I know he's training, but the internet videos that he's putting out, I'm not sure if I want to see him or not. Like, I don't really know how much that's helping, but they're just all very interesting. Like, he's throwing a towel around with the dog. Like, there's people that speculate, like, this is how, like, what he's doing is right, but it's just all very bizarre. It's like in his backyard with the dog, and you're like, is this how you're supposed to do it? Like, Tom Brady is not training like this.
Yeah, no, it does look very unorthodox, for sure.
I mean, that's the way to put it, baby.
I mean, it doesn't add up and align with all the other videos that you see NFL guys doing and working out. But I think that's kind of the draw to Jameis. I mean, I think some of that stuff is kind of who he is and kind of the quirkiness about him that makes him somewhat like attractive to a lot of people. Yeah, likable.
Like that he's
right.
doing it.
I mean, like, what the hell are you doing, bro? You know what I mean? Like,
man, can't see.
Jeez. I mean, you're a franchise quarterback?
It's incredible that he can throw for 30 touchdowns.
It is. It absolutely is. But I think, again, like, that's some of the draw to him. You know what I mean? But then I hear speculation that Sean Payton is married to Taysom Hill. Like, over the last couple of weeks, I've heard reports from some of the people down in New Orleans or some of the people that are at least around the franchise that Payton is like...
not giving up.
Yeah, like not giving up on Taysom Hill, which to me, I think is unbelievable. I mean, like the fact that he is so smart, he is so bright of a football mind, and he thinks that guy is the answer at quarterback. I mean, I think Taysom Hill is an incredible talent. He's not a franchise quarterback. I mean, you've seen enough to have to have been able to make that decision, right? I mean, if it's your responsibility to decide whether or not you can win football games at the highest level with a quarterback, you've seen enough of Taysom Hill to decide no, right? I mean, haven't we? Right? I mean, we're not still debating whether or not Taysom Hill is a franchise quarterback. I mean, to me, this is the Les Miles argument.
Right.
I mean, Les Miles is your coach, but if he was a free agent, nobody else would want him. I mean, if Taysom Hill was on the open market as a quarterback, how many people out there would sign him to be their quarterback? Now, a lot of people would love to have them
as a weapon,
have him on the team as Taysom Hill.
He's found his role. He's not a quarterback. He's not a starting quarterback. If you want to have him on the field, he's going to do what he's been doing with the Saints, and it should just stay that way, in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, if they're going to pay you $21 million over 3 years to do what you're doing, man, I mean, get another one of those and live your life comfortably. I mean, get generational money while you have a chance to do that in the NFL, because the window is so very small that trying to become a franchise quarterback while you're in the league is damn near impossible. It's very much near impossible to try and make that happen while you're not that when you get there.
Well, you talk about generational money, and I think that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to, I want you to sign me as a quarterback. I want quarterback contract money. So that's why he's saying, I'm not doing any more workouts. I'm working out strictly as a quarterback. And I still don't believe him. I feel like Sean Payton's going to toss him out there. He's going to be on special teams. He's going to be running down on punts. Like, Taysom Hill, you're going to be Taysom Hill. Like, maybe Sean Payton's playing, kind of riding the fence a little bit to make sure everybody's... It's kind of like LSU football with Max Johnson and Miles Brennan. You see one person working the entire time, but there's still a brigade of people that think, well, Miles Brennan's like the incumbent starter. It's like, no, he's not, dude. Like, you see Jameis Winston working out the entire time. I haven't seen anything from Taysom Hill working out, in terms of putting video and content out there to be a quarterback.
I think to go further on to what you're saying, like when you see Max Johnson working out, he's working out with LSU wide receivers. He's working out with Kayshon Boutte and Jack Besh and new guys. When you watch Jameis Winston work out, he's working out with a lot of the Saints wide receivers. A lot of the guys that are around trying to build chemistry, trying to build timing. Those guys are working out with Winston. I don't see... And look, just because we see social media videos doesn't mean that people aren't working out. But it does say something when you see the crew working out with a certain guy, because they understand that, hey, look, this is who I need to be working with. This is the guy that's going to be pulling the trigger. And timing means something in all of that. So, I agree with you. I mean, I think that Jameis feels like he's the guy, but there's still smoke around Taysom Hill and Peyton wanting to make him the franchise quarterback. I kind of buy into the theory of what you're saying too, is that you tell him one thing in the public, but once you get into the football scenarios, hey man, you got to get out there and cover that punt.
And he's going to want to play. He's going to want to be out there because Taysom Hill's a gamer, and it's kind of like what Brody Miller said. It's like it feels like the locker room knows who the guy is. And it feels like they know it. They wouldn't be working out with Jameis if it wasn't Jameis.
So Saints report later this week for their first practice. That'll be Thursday. Some other news around the NFL to watch out for. Cincinnati Bengals quarterback, former LSU star Joe Burrow, who tore his ACL during the end of his rookie season last year. Bengals released names of players put on the PUP list, the physically unable to perform list. Ahead of training camp, no Joey B. Burrow's name was nowhere to be found, which makes him a full go for training camp, which begins up in Cincinnati around the middle of this week. And we'll check in with our guy Ben Baby at some point to get an update on what he looks like and Jamar Chase. In fact, rookies and quarterbacks have already reported to practice up in Cincinnati. So Burrow is already working out alongside Jamar Chase officially. As he is back out there, and by all accounts, he's a full go, man, which is incredible. I mean, there were reports last season that he was going to miss this year. I mean, like right when he got hurt. If you remember, when he went out to Los Angeles and got this deal done, I believe he sat almost a month before he had it cut on because the swelling and because of just how bad the injury was. So it wasn't as if he got hurt on Sunday and he was being cut on Monday. I mean, it took time for him to get to the surgery table. Once he was opened up, it was seen that like the injury was a little bit worse than they expected, and there were some people reporting like around the medical field like Joe Burrow's next season could be in question. I mean, he may not be able to get right before next year. And here's this cat, and I know this is the story of Burrow, and medical science has come just legions and legions of miles since we've been doing and talking about this in football over the last decade. But to see this guy trotting out for minicamp without any type of hindrance, it's unbelievable. I mean, just the story of Burrow, the legend of Burrow continues to grow in who and what he is in football. I just pray to God that they can protect him and keep him upright and safe, because another injury could be devastating to him and just who he is as a player. But
Did you not
the
think
legend continues to grow, man?
But did you not think last year that was not if, it was when he was going to get hurt? Yeah. It felt imminent. Like I watched more Bengals football than I've ever watched in my however old I am. I was like, I've never watched a Bengals game, but I tuned into literally every Bengals game while he was playing, and it was watching that team play. Like, he's going to get hurt because Joe Burrow's not going to bow out, and then they're awful, and he just sat there and took every hit he could take. Like, something like that was going to happen. When you saw the injury, he got rolled up so bad to the point where you're like, is this an Alex Smith thing where are they going to have, like, like you said, it was almost, this might be a year thing. And then Joe Burrow is the cat where he's like, no, dude, I'll be back for OTA.
He's a freak.
Dude doesn't miss a snap.
And they can be so good this year.
Yeah, they could.
Offensively, they can be really, really good if they can protect them.
They picked up 2 offensive linemen in free agency.
They did pick up.
They drafted one in the second round, and they picked up a couple in free agency. So hopefully, a couple of these guys could, could work out, and they could be
competent.
Yes, man. I mean, doesn't it feel like his stepping stone of his NFL life? Injury with the setback, get that out of the way. I mean, even Brady blew his knee. Right. You know what I mean? Brady's gone through some of this stuff, but I mean, playoffs, recognize that this guy's here deep into the playoffs, AFC Championship, Super Bowl. I mean, next couple of years to me, Burrow, if you can keep him healthy, and you can keep him right, I mean, we'll start to see him start to make that climb.
Got a little future bet on Joe Burrow, comeback player of the year.
What is that? That's gonna be good odds.
It's great odds, but I mean, he might. Odds. Yeah, I mean, he might be comeback player of the year.
He should be.
If you could pick one team, Saints or Bengals, for the next 10 years? Which one? If you had, you can only watch one.
Bengals. It's not even close.
So your fanhood is not like, you're not that devoted to the, because that's where I am. I'm much prefer. I think I like the Bengals more than I like the Saints. Like, I'm getting there because of Joe Burrow, then Jamar Chase, and there's other LSU ties. You got Thad Moss, like, rolling around with the Bengals. It's just, they're so interesting to me, and Joe Burrow has a special place in my heart.
I love my New Orleans people.
Oh, me too.
I love my New Orleans friends. I love the city. I mean, my girl lives in New Orleans, and we love to just get into the city and get lost. But before 2006, I had no loyalty to the Saints, really. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the difference in the sports cities that just sit 50 miles away from each other, where they both ancillarily pull for both teams. Like, you'll see a lot of people in New Orleans that pull for LSU, but there's a contingent that hate LSU, that can't stand LSU in New Orleans. I mean, most of that's the Tulane crowd, but there is also a huge selection of LSU fans down there. Down in Baton Rouge, there's a huge fan base to the New Orleans Saints. But before 2006, it wasn't that much heard. Like, there was not many people that were very much prideful about the Saints. You didn't see flags waving in front of businesses.
For so long.
Yeah, you're telling me they're not locked into Jerome Payton playing.
You had people wearing bags over their head.
Yeah.
But one thing, that's what Peyton and Breeze and that era did for Saints fans, or at least the Gulf Coast, was really bring people and their fandom and their loyalty to the franchise. I mean, the Saints have, I would venture to say, have quadrupled in value. I mean, more than that since the last 15 years. I mean, the amount of now, I know that the NFL franchises are obviously one of the most richest entities and one of those sought after entities in the world. But the value of the New Orleans Saints within the NFL has been astronomical since Peyton and Breeze have gotten here, just because of the loyalty and the fandom that they have kicked up and they have cultivated. I mean, like, my son was born into New Orleans Saints success. He has no idea how bad the franchise was for so many years. He only sees them as a winner.
He doesn't know Aaron.
I don't even. My first memory is the Super Bowl. Like, I was 2009. I was 7 years old.
Oh, God.
So, like, I only remember.
You don't even know Aaron Brooks throwing it backwards and laughing off the field.
I know Aaron Brooks now,
right? But you just like that's what I lived through. Like, that was my indoctrination into into Saints football.
Yeah.
Was this, like, I want to like it, but they're so bad, and you just keep tuning in every Sunday and, like, let's see how they can muck it up again. Like, even when they have, like, the 4-time lateral and they score on this amazing play against the Jaguars, and then John Carney misses the extra point.
Right.
Like, that was Saints football to me. It's like, of course
Jacksonville
that's happened.
Jaguars.
Yes, like, of course that happened.
Yeah, I mean, it was, if it could go wrong, it would go wrong for the Saints. I mean, it was for a while there, I mean, it was argued as the worst franchise in sports.
It was.
Like the Clippers, the Saints, the Bengals. I mean, like, there was all types of just jokes made around the Saints. I mean, they were a joke, but I mean, that to me is why you build the statue of Peyton and Breeze. You know what I mean? I would put those two in the middle of Grant Circle. I mean, or Lee's Circle. I mean, or some type of recognition to that era of Saints football, of starting that, just because of what it meant to the people. I mean, my grandfather would take us to Saints games when we were growing up with the Dome Patrol. I remember Bobby Hebert and Pat Swilling and Ricky Jackson and Vaughn Dunbar and all those guys, man. I mean, I remember those guys. But I didn't have a loyalty to them. I was affected when LSU lost. Like, it would affect my week, my day, my night. I could care less if the Saints would win or lose.
That's kind of where I was too, because LSU was it's exhausting. Like, you do that all Saturday, and you live or die with every play. Then you wake up on Sunday, it's like, I can tune in at like 2:30. I'll catch it in the second half, because I poured everything into watching LSU play. Like, it was physically taxing to watch LSU play, because and that's where college football has always kind of had my heart, because you can't lose. And the Saints is like, oh, they can lose 3 games, 4 games, 5 games, 6 games, doesn't matter. Still make the playoffs. If LSU loses 5 games like what happened last year, this place is a disaster.
Sure.
Like, you see it happen. Like, everybody kind of feels college football just has us more than the Saints do. And it'll always be that way to me because of the stakes.
Sure. And I think that's obviously, when you grow up, where you grew up, there wasn't that local tie to something that you had. So when you got to LSU, you locally gripped onto that and you were passionate about it. And that's what the Saints don't have from us. We don't have that passionate, obsessive fandom that they have in spades in New Orleans.
Yeah, they really do.
Right? So, when you give me an option of watching the Bengals or caring more about the Bengals or Saints football over the next decade, well, if you give me an option, I'm going to watch the Bengals because I want to watch Burrow and Chase. You know what I mean?
And it all comes back to LSU. Like, that's what I think, too. Like, because of where they played, like, they played for, like, our state school or whatever, and I loved watching them play. That it's like, I've never really followed somebody like that because LSU's never had a quarterback, like, go to the league like that. So I was locked in whenever Burrow went 1-1. And I was like, oh, my God, I'm going to watch every game.
Yeah.
And I was terrified for him.
Yes, absolutely. You could feel it coming.
You could feel it coming.
GoFlow, IV and Spa, Health and Wellness. You can stop and see them over on Jefferson Highway. Baton Rouge's premier medical spa specializing in IV hydration, treatments with vitamin infusion. We're getting over there this week to GoFlow, IV and Spa. I've had more people ask me since Katie posted the picture on social media of getting our latest shot on how we feel. And I can tell you that the sleep is better, the energy levels are better, and you can custom make your IV over there. You can become a member. They offer memberships both on month, 3-month, annual memberships. Stop in and see them. They are easy to visit online at goflowiv.com, goflowiv.com. They're also on social media where you can find them on Instagram and Facebook. But they're located right here in Jefferson Highway, on Jefferson Highway in the heart of Baton Rouge. You can stop in and see them in their new location, but it's easy to check them out online at goflowiv.com, goflowiv.com. All right, when we come back, we will have a new segment we'll roll out here, Weekend Heroes, Heroes of the Weekend, some of the things that stood out to us, and we'll talk about that and get set up for our conversation with Brent Zwerneman, over at the Houston Chronicle, who covers Texas A&M, where obviously conference realignment has been a very popular topic of conversation for a lot of college football fans and just sports fans in general. It seems like this is going to happen, and many believe that the announcement of Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC could happen as early as this week. We will talk to Brent about that. Brent broke the story last week on Wednesday for the Houston Chronicle of this going down. So lots to get to him with him during the 8 o'clock hours. We'll start off the second hour with him. Next, Heroes of the Weekend coming up here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Are you self-employed? Then you need to learn about Angel Oak's Home Loans Bank Statement program that they're offering, which makes you eligible as a self-employed borrower to purchase or refinance a home without requiring a tax return. If you want to learn more, get in touch with me. Email me, Jordy at jordyculotta.com, to learn about the bank statement loan program offered by Angel Oak. Jordy at jordyculotta.com to learn more. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022. 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in Laplace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Are you self-employed? Then you need to learn about Angel Oak's Home Loans Bank Statement program that they're offering, which makes you eligible as a self-employed borrower to purchase or refinance a home without requiring a tax return. If you want to learn more, get in touch with me. Email me, Jordy at jordyculottashow.com, to learn about the bank statement loan program offered by Angel Oak. Jordy at jordyculottashow.com to learn more.
They always say that.
Shout out to our crew over at Go Chevrolet for bringing us the Jordy Culotta Show every single day. Lee Carney, Nick Richard, and the crew. Let them get you into a new model today or a used car model. Go Express Auto Sales, located right here in the corner of Sherwood Forest and Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales, Go Chevrolet, online at GEAUXchevrolet.com. Weekend Heroes, a new segment here. We're going to point out some of the winners of the weekend. I will start, as Lloyd said here, that the 2-on-2 pickup game that went down in Katie's pool on Friday was an absolute runaway for
great.
Team Adults over Team 10-year-olds. It's Jordy and Lloyd down Luke Sotil and Jordan Culotta.
Great chemistry.
I believe 21-2, yes. Played very well in the open pool together. My second winner of the weekend is Tunica Hills. I'm not sure why I followed up our Friday pool game, which the legs and the feet are just feeling it, bro. The bottom of my feet are so scraped up. Balls of my feet feel like I'm 80 years old.
So you decide to hike after
So
that?
Kelly and I decided to go Saturday after a little local basketball camp that was down here, which is another weekend hero
played
for
so
me.
hard, dude.
We did play so hard, bro. We decided to pack up and go hiking in Tunica Hills, which is just past St. Francisville and Highway 61, which you forget about.
I know.
You really do forget
You do.
about that. I mean,
Until
we're
you
in
see someone on Instagram that's gone.
we are such, live in just this flat land that is just, it's like you forget that there's actually terrain out there that's like kind of hills and mountainous, and just, 45 minutes up the road, really.
I'm
It
a
is
huge
weird.
St. Francisville fan. Whenever
Yes.
they have the Bluffs, that golf course, but
Absolutely.
I think it's taken a turn for the worse.
It has taken a turn.
But
has
that
taken
was
a
a
turn.
great trip. You could stay out there, and they had cabins where you could stay and play.
Yeah.
We would do that for a weekend. But now the golf course is shit the bed, so we don't do it anymore. But it is an absolute, completely different terrain
It
than
was
what
beautiful,
we're used
bro.
to. And, I don't want to go anywhere other than Katie's house, so
Yeah,
I'm good.
no, I hear that. I hear that.
I don't have to
But we spent Saturday at Clark's Creek with a couple of waterfalls, hiking, doing the deal, bro. Not the remedy you want on sore feet and sore legs, but we pushed through, dude, and you forget just that is a great option. Just to kind of get out of the house and get away for people in South Louisiana that are looking for something different to do and something different to look at.
Do you have to like pay to get in or anything?
$2, but I mean,
Okay.
it's an honor box, bro.
Yeah,
you know what I
okay.
mean. Like they're not sitting there like there's not
Take
some
a penny, leave a
it's not some
penny.
park ranger with his socks pulled up asking you for your $2. I mean, you just put it in an envelope and you got to put it in this box, and I mean, you know, you just got to go deal with the day. Now there are people that are walking up that look like they have been maimed and like beat up. You know what I mean? Like it is not like the sight that like. Did you guys have fun? You know what I mean?
How long
Like,
have you been here?
how was your experience? Yeah, like
Why?
just because I mean,
I've never been.
well,
so I've
first
never
off, I
done
mean,
it.
the heat on Saturday
Yeah.
was it was just I mean,
It's too hot.
Yeah, I mean, it was enveloped. I mean, it was smothering. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The heat would smother you.
Punch me in the face.
But I mean, there were a couple of like packs of like older like ladies like walking up there, just like, take this walking stick. I promise you're gonna need it. You know what I mean? Like, just look dead.
Moses
You know
in
what I
the
mean?
desert.
Just like like dragging their feet up. Like, water. Where's the water?
You having fun?
Yeah, it's like, how was the day, ladies? Like, don't do it. Don't
around.
do it. Turn around. You do not want to do this. I looked at Kel. She was like,
We're here.
let's do it, man. Let's roll. Let's do it.
Little James pissed off still from yesterday.
No. We left little Jay behind, but we're going to pack
Oh, he
him up
didn't
this
go
week.
with y'all?
No, but I am going to pack him up this week because I thought more on the humility angle. This is going to be good for him. This is going to be good for him. You know what I mean?
Well,
A
he's
summer,
going through it
a
right
summer
now.
of humility, bro. You know what I
Gets
mean?
back from basketball camp,
Yes.
gets shoved in a locker in the pool by his father and his employee. And then he's like, now I'm bringing him to go work out.
Now we're going to hike the hills.
He loves me.
Weekend
summer.
hero, Katie. Who you got?
Mine's the robot basketball player.
Wow, what a beast!
I mean, I didn't know first I thought
Lloyd didn't know
maybe
anything
it's
about the
not a-
story.
No, I tried to watch
He
its
does. I
video,
sent it to
and
him.
ESPN sucks. That app is unbelievable. I couldn't watch the video. I pulled
It
it
does
up
suck.
10 times, and it just paused and relapsed every time. I was like, all right, I can't watch it, so I didn't watch it.
Okay.
Because
well,
it's not your
It's
fault.
a robot throwing, making a 3-pointer.
No, how
It would
many?
been great to see.
Don't
They
they
don't
make
have
so
to.
many in a row?
Yeah, I mean, it's very. I was like, that's not gonna be a robot.
like,
'Cause it
measures
had
it.
like hands and all. Yeah, and it like gets up and.
Well, I mean, the dancing robot's one of the
Bizarre.
freakiest things I've ever seen.
I thought that
Have
was
you seen
fake.
this
It's
video?
real.
No, that is real. The dancing robot
terrifying.
is amazing.
I haven't seen the dancing robot.
Have you not?
Katie,
There's
if you-
3 of them.
Katie, if you love the basketball robot,
This
do
one-
yourself a favor.
Okay,
I mean, the dancing
I
robot
haven't
is
seen
is
that.
next level.
I haven't seen
It's
that.
It
next
seems
level.
fake. It looks like it's CGI, and like, there's everybody on the internet. Like, this is
I mean,
absolutely
it's like
real.
Chris Brown. I mean,
Yeah,
the robot's like Chris Brown, bro. I mean, it's like,
How do they
Really?
do
We should, be
that?
Thing.
we should be terrified that exists.
I mean,
mean,
the
seriously.
They're way
robot
too good.
turns me on when it's dancing. Noah, your weekend hero. Who you got?
Oh, mine is Stephanie Dolson. It's from the women's 3-on-3 basketball team. She's the big.
Is this an
6'5"
Olympic sport?
Yeah. USA has a
Out of the
3-on-3
Olympics.
basketball, and so they actually beat France. And I mean,
Burn.
she's like 6'5" and just dominates. She's shooting like 10 for 14 over the 2 games. Just dominates, and it's fun to watch. So there's no stoppage of
3-on-3
play.
is awesome.
Yes.
There's no stoppage of play. You get even
I
off
agree.
a make, you just grab it, dribble it out, and you can shoot right
Is it
there.
half
No
court?
check anything. Yeah,
Sounds like some pool ball.
Check
bro.
so
ball.
much,
Check
Yes.
so
ball.
much fun.
We're behind the hot tub. We're behind the hot tub. Didn't go behind the hot tub,
That's
Jay. That bucket doesn't count. Points off the board. Got to take it back. Start over.
He tried to pull some
He
shiesty
did,
shit,
bro.
dude. He
He
was down
did, he
bad. He
did.
was
I
trying
need
to
to
check
put
it
some
off.
cameras
Didn't
Get
go
the
behind the hot tub. Who you got, Lloyd?
My hero of the week is actually my buddy from Pineville. So he lost his fantasy football league, and the punishment was if you came in last place, you had to do stand-up comedy.
Oh
and so
my God!
he had to go to the station, and they
Oh God.
and he's not a comedian. And so he came in last place, and my buddy, that like the commissioner of the league or whatever, set it up to where he told them, he's like, no, he's a comedian, and they put him on stage
No.
for 10 minutes.
Oh
Do
my
you have
God!
video of it?
yes, it's out there.
No, is it the most
But
awkward
Do you know
thing
how
ever?
long
it's
10 minutes
impossible.
is on
That's-
stage?
He
Yes.
asked twice. He goes, how much time do I have left?
No way!
He was dying.
No way!
He had 2
No way!
The funniest thing
Oh
is,
my God! I'm shaking for him, bro. I'm cringing
What
for
a
this
hero,
guy.
though.
That's
for
what I
doing
said.
it.
Because even me, I would be like, I'm not
No,
doing
I'm
that.
not doing
I
that.
can't put
I'm not
myself
doing
in that
that.
scenario
not
where
doing that.
and there's 100 people
That's
there.
the worst. That's the worst loser circle I've ever heard for
Ever.
fantasy
That
football.
is.
The worst I'd heard before that was somebody, a group had like making the loser taking the ACT.
ACT. I was
Like,
taking
I was like,
Adderall.
"Hey,
Yeah.
whatever, here, man. I'll go in there and leave on the first break.
Stand-up comedy
You know what I
for
mean?
10 minutes.
Stand-up comedy for 10 minutes.
And
Where was he in the lineup? Was he first?
He was third.
Oh, my God.
He was supposed to be first, but then
I would
like,
rather be first.
That's what I
Just so I
said.
can get the hell out of here.
No.
I agree, but then, well, because if
Oh
you're
my
third,
God.
like 2 comedians have gone before you that are
Yes,
actual comedians.
they're
like,
funny.
They were funny. And then he has to get up there and he's like, I don't know, just Jesus
Did the
Christ,
audience
dude.
Well, did he
know,
make
like, did
one
they
joke?
know?
That's-
I guess you would have to embrace that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm not a comedian.
Yes.
Right. Well, that's what I said. It's like, how quickly do you get to the point where, dude, I lost fantasy football. I have no idea what I'm doing up here. And it was the
Immediately.
second
Yeah,
thing he said.
Immediately.
Yes.
Immediately.
But-
was his voice like quivering and shaking?
No, he was. He did like.
Was there
for
a lot
all-
of people there?
Probably 50. Which is a lot.
It's 50
Yeah.
too
At the
many, bro.
station.
10 minutes.
10
You know how
minutes
long
is
10
so
minutes
long.
is?
But he's the hero of the week
cringy.
because he kind of crushed it. Like he embraced it and did well.
So you had
got-
people laughing?
Yes, he had 2 great jokes, and I mean that was it. But I
Yeah,
mean, how
yeah,
many?
yeah.
How much
Just
stuff
ride
do
the
you
wave,
write
bro.
now? Like just
Ride the
those.
wave.
And
Yeah.
then he got.
Can I tell that joke I told earlier again?
You want to hear that one again? And then he's like, "How much longer?" He's like, 2 more minutes. He's like, "All right, we can get through this." But unbelievable because I don't think I can do that. So
Did he
Beaky,
have
No, I
time
couldn't.
to prepare?
yeah,
like-
he had like since he lost fantasy football,
Okay.
he had that much time to prepare, but it's still not enough. Like you can't.
No.
I can't even sit down to write a stand-up bit. Like I
Yeah.
don't even know how to
Right,
start.
Right.
I would rather take the ACT. Like I said, I'd just crush
sure.
an Adderall
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
probably, but, you know, like
Screw that
What if I
Adderall, dude.
popped?
I'm just going to the first.
What if you did?
What if I got like a 34? Like, do I go back to school and get a scholarship?
Oh my God.
No way that happens.
I mean, I don't even have any more degrees to
No
get.
way that happens. Shout out to another hometown hero of the weekend, Aaron Nola. Threw a gem yesterday for Philadelphia.
Making
If you saw
money.
this. Beat Atlanta 2-1. Nola allowed 4 hits and struck out 9 in 8 2/3 innings work for the former Baton Rouge native. So shout out to Aaron Nola for him and his performance over the weekend for Philadelphia. My other one is to Brock Cantrell for Hometown Heroes basketball camp that they put on over at the Sports Academy over the weekend. A who's who of basketball legends around the Baton Rouge area. Coach Dale Brown, Coach John Brady, Stanley Roberts.
Dale Brown Court.
What's that?
Dale Brown Court.
Yes, looks like it's happening. Collis Temple, all of the Temples were there. CT Jr., CT3, Garrett Temple was there. Marcus Thornton was there. Some of the old heads like Nikita Wilson and Jordy Holtberg were in the arena as coaches that day. But it was cool to see all of the hometown heroes. Shout out to Brock Cantrell who put that together over at the Sports Academy on Saturday morning. Had about probably about 60 kids in there in one gym, getting some hands-on coaching from some of the legends, man, some of the greats. Rudy Macklin was there. It was cool to see. So a good weekend, a good day in Baton Rouge over at the Sports Academy.
Was
That
it awkward at all to see Garrett Temple after what happened?
it was first thing he asked me, "You feeling okay?" And says that we will definitely catch back up with him at some point. More awkward for Coach Brown and I, but we crossed a very much over into a great spot. He had he was the keynote speaker to the camp. Was able to meet Little Jay. Had a great message for him. Was very positive, and I got to say, it was cool to see and cool to talk to Coach Dale Brown over the weekend.
Y'all should like each other.
Yes, we should.
Yeah.
We absolutely should. So that was cool. That's my second hometown hero. Any more
Okay.
around the room?
Wait,
Any
can
more?
we talk about Tom Brady and the freaking football machine?
Yeah, that was fake though.
What,
I mean, that was fake.
what part?
I mean, I
I
understand
kinda
some
think
of
all-
it.
I kinda
might-
think
you think
the
whole
editing-
thing is fake?
I mean, do you really think he threw it into that chute like
think-
that?
I do,
don't
but I
think
think
he-
someone stopped it. I think it was remote controlled.
I don't think he did, but I think he could.
No,
I don't think that's a debate. I think
So
he
if he
could.
wise
could,
he
then
could
why
do it.
didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean,
Because
why
I
do you
don't
think he
the
didn't?
I don't think the machine like
Yeah.
the way the judge machine works. It just spins the
know.
wheels and shoots. Like I don't think the wheels would like let it in like that.
Right.
How
Right.
do you edit that video?
I don't know. How do you edit that?
His
That's my
hands
problem.
are so soft.
Yes, well, I
Great
think
catch.
his athleticism
Amazing.
is very undervalued.
Underrated.
Very underrated. Very underrated.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We will pick back up this conversation, but we're going to jump on with Brent Zwinnerman here in a couple of minutes as we will get the latest on this conference alignment stuff. I mean, this wave has really gotten everybody talking around sports. This is something that has dominated since SEC Media Days when it broke last week. And Zwinnerman was the guy who broke it for the Houston Chronicle Everybody was talking about name, image, and likeness, transfer portal. That has become forgotten subjects since conference realignment has taken the driver's seat. Texas and Oklahoma seem like they are coming to the SEC. How many more teams jump aboard? We'll talk to Brent next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, where daily we are presented by Hub International Insurance. Remember, you can get in touch with Hub International Insurance just by emailing me if that makes it easier for you. Jordy at jordyculotta.show.com. The Supreme Court released an update ruling regarding the Affordable Health Care Act. How does that affect you if you were a business owner? Let Hub International explain those questions and get the answers for you today. Jordy at jordyculotta.show.com. Hub International, the official insurance company of the New Orleans Saints, the New Orleans Pelicans, and the Jordy Culotta Show. We'll talk to Brent Zwinnerman next here on the Jordy Culotta Show from the Houston Chronicle. Are you self-employed? Then you need to learn about Angel Oak's Home Loans Bank Statement program that they're offering, which makes you eligible as a self-employed borrower to purchase or refinance a home without requiring a tax return. If you want to learn more, get in touch with me. Email me, Jordy at jordyculotta.show.com, to learn about the bank statement loan program offered by Angel Oak. Jordy at jordyculotta.show.com to learn more. Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, daily presented by Falaya Real Estate. Remember, check out Barrett Blondo and what he's got going on over at Falaya Real Estate. Was driving around yesterday and saw Falaya Real Estate signs all over Baton Rouge. Check out what they got going on. They're changing the way real estate is bought and sold. Check them out online at falaya.com or download the app inside your Google and Android stores. We were over at SEC Media Days last week. We were only there for Monday when LSU was being presented, which was the first day of the week, but kept up with everything that was happening through the SEC network. And the topics that were dominating the media days yesterday or last week down in Hoover was conference realignment came in on Wednesday. But before that, people were talking about the transfer portal. People were talking about name, image, and likeness. Then on Wednesday afternoon at around 2 o'clock, an absolute bombshell was dropped by the Houston Chronicle, and Brent Zwerneman was on the other end of it over at the Houston Chronicle. Breaking news as Texas and Oklahoma were set to join the Southeastern Conference, was the report, and this was happening while Texas A&M was being presented at SEC Media Days. It was almost a perfect storm of this type of story. You could see Jimbo Fisher being asked about it real time. He wasn't prepared for it. It was an absolute incredible story, and it looks like this is going to happen. And I believe this could be the biggest story maybe in college football history if this goes down, especially within like the last 25 to 50 years.
It's put 100% up there, and it makes me wonder how the news was broken. Was Texas A&M trying to get out in front of it? Because there's no reason for a Texas reporter to be there. Obviously, Brent broke the story. So was he trying to help A&M be like, look, this is happening right now, and like, this is your chance to on a public platform to make a statement?
Well, we can
ask him.
We can ask him right now. Brent Zwinnerman he covers Texas A&M for the Houston Chronicle. He's also authored 5 books for them.
Jesus.
On A&M. Yes, a lot smarter than us, Lloyd.
He'll take the ACT.
Yes. We welcome Brent into the conversation now. Good morning, Brent. Thank you for our time. Thank you for your time.
Hey, good morning. On those books, it's just take them one chapter at a time, and you're good to go.
Thank you for the guidance. We're gonna let you write those.
Years ago.
All I see is the blinking line when you start the page. You're like, never mind.
Brett, what was your
there you go.
what was your cell phone like on Wednesday?
That was crazy. And Wednesday was the day. I enjoyed LSU, because we have obviously in Houston a big LSU following. So Monday was good, but Wednesday was the day I was looking forward to. Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher, who I cover, Mike Leach. I mean, it was already shaping up to be just a great news day on that front. And then I go and get word of that. I even briefly considered, damn, maybe this could wait till Thursday. No, better be now. But yeah, the idea that A&M had this orchestrated event to really get the word out is not correct. Which, I mean, it was an amazing coincidence. But here's what it comes down to, and I mentioned this several times, and I mentioned it in the stories. That day, that Wednesday, was the 10-year anniversary to the day that then Texas A&M President Arbo and Lofton had stepped out of a regents meeting at A&M and said, the Big 12 is in a state of uncertainty. And what he meant by that was A&M wanted to get out of there. And then so then things accelerated from there. So what it stemmed from was I had reached out to all these old contacts across the board, across leagues, across SEC, Big 12, and so forth, to talk about that 10-year anniversary. So if you look back at my Twitter timeline, you'll see that I'm referencing 10 years, Lofton, this story. Here's a new book on this. So I had reached out to all these old contacts. It just happened to come down right at that time, which was kind of nuts, because actually I had been trying to post it much earlier, but I was having trouble. Y'all might remember this, having trouble with the Wi-Fi at SEC Media Days, scrambling around out in the lobby, going outside where that big sign is on the outside of the hotel, and then I started using my hotspot. And then for the first time in days, the sun comes out, so I can barely see the screen on my laptop. So the idea of this very well-oiled, here A&M has, leaked this and here, post it now. No, that didn't happen at all. In fact, it was supposed to be earlier in the day, but it got pushed back.
Wow. I said coming in that if this happens, and at this point it doesn't feel like if, it feels like when Oklahoma and Texas announce that they're joining the league, how big of a story this is for college football. Brent, I would say that this possibly could be the biggest story ever, or when you look at least the last 25 to 50 years of the sport, when conferences became as relevant as they are now, and we've seen the amount of money that's being made around college sports, particularly college football. In your opinion, how big, if this story breaks, if Oklahoma and Texas do join the league, do join the Southeastern Conference, what does that mean for college sports?
Yeah, it's the start of what I anticipate. At that time, the thought was, okay, SEC, being on the cutting edge, as they always are, becomes the first 16-team super conference. And so SEC, once again, leading the way. And then you start hearing things, well, they might add more. And I've joked that at some point it's going to be 32 teams each, and it's going to be called West and East. And you're going to have two conferences of that. But, yeah, the idea is the SEC is going to be out front on this, be the first super conference, ideally a 16-team, 4 super conferences. Texas and Oklahoma, from the vantage of being traditional, if you're going to talk about SEC being a football league, I mean, those are two programs you obviously would love to add, in OU and Texas. Texas hasn't been very good for the past decade, but certainly they have the pedigree and they absolutely have the money. Oklahoma has been good in that span, so it's no brainer. So if you're Greg Sankey, are you saying, and they come to you, are you saying, no thanks, go ahead and go to the ACC or the Big Ten? No, you're wanting to add those guys. And so those talks were behind the scenes for a while. I've never still pegged down exactly how long that's been going on. In my mind, it wasn't that long, but it's certainly the tipping point. I will say this: I had the discipline of a decade ago, having covered A&M, in Missouri, obviously on a smaller scale, having gone through this. So I already know all the procedures and everything that go with it, the eventual vote that will come to be. I saw all that with Texas A&M, so I kind of have an idea of what's going to go on here. And once it came out public here, I think that does accelerate the process in terms of moving it forward. Because A&M was supposed to be like a 2-year deal at that time. They would be joining the SEC in 2013, maybe 2014, 3 years. But it was so awkward that one fall of football, and everything, or it became awkward early on, they accelerated the process and moved it up, and the Big 12 agreed to it. And next thing you know, within a year, they're playing in the SEC. It would not surprise me to see a situation like this with Texas and OU as well.
Brent Zwerneman joining us here on the Jordy Culotta Show. You can find him on Twitter there. He covers Texas A&M for the Houston Chronicle. He was the one who broke the story last Wednesday, the bombshell that has rocked college sports and has everybody in our business talking. And if you turn on sports radio, if you open up your internet to your go-to sports feed, everybody is talking about this story of Texas and Oklahoma.
Thank God he did it.
Potentially, yes, joining the league. Texas A&M meets today, their Board of Regents at 4:00. That Ross Bjork was speaking over the weekend about what potentially this could mean. I've even seen where Texas state legislation has crafted a bill that may take a vote on whether or not schools can lead their conferences. What has been the feeling since last Wednesday in and around your state, and specifically to the team that you cover in Texas A&M since this news has hit the public?
Jordy, you've probably seen the pivot that's gone on with Texas A&M. Ross Bjork was on hand, and that's another thing I'd ask him. Have you been to SEC Media Days before? He said he had gone 3 times while he was Ole Miss athletic director. So A&M, so that wasn't some new deal where he was there suddenly to ask questions. In fact, he was quite caught off guard, saying A&M wanted to be the only SEC school from the state of Texas. In that time, I started coming around and saying, okay, whoever the SEC brings on, we'll welcome them, and we'll try to beat them on the field. So this Regents meeting that was called back on Thursday or Friday, or when they had to announce it publicly, but essentially I was told it's just to update them on the latest. They have to announce it if they're going to get together by phone, by teleconference, and discuss what's going on. The legislators, it's exactly what happened a decade ago, where there's a lot of talk, not a lot of action. There was a lot of threats toward Texas A&M from Baylor a decade ago that ultimately led nowhere. So you can kind of see all that playing out. Some politicians feel like they have to stick up for Texas Tech and Baylor, TCU, and programs like that. But ultimately, there's not just a whole lot they can do about it, especially when Texas A&M is now adopting the approach of saying, hey, things have been pretty good for the Aggies in the SEC. They will welcome anyone. They're not particularly happy about it, but they're going to go along with it and then try to beat the heck out of them on the football field.
Brent, you mentioned that you are familiar with the process. What do you anticipate now as the timeline goes on? Because I've seen reports that this could be announced as early as this week.
Yeah, I think today they're formally letting OU and Texas are formally letting the Big 12 know that they don't want to extend the TV rights, which is kind of that first formal step. Then the SEC at some point can formally invite. I do think it's going to follow that process of being accelerated, especially if, say, like the Pac-12 says, man, we'd like to add these 8 remaining teams, and suddenly you have a 20-team super conference out west. Obviously, those leftover Big 12 teams would jump on that opportunity to be a part of a big league. So I could see it accelerating. It accelerated 10 years ago when it appeared the Big 12 was going to survive. Texas and OU were going to stick with it, and then suddenly Baylor's like, okay, we're all right. We're in this league. I could see that playing out. Now, if it looks like these Big 12 programs are going to be kind of whipping in the wind on all this, then they'll take every step they can to kind of draw it out so they can be part of a so-called Power 5 conference as they search for a landing spot. But my gut feeling is on all this is that it's going to move pretty quick, because it does become an awkward situation. I can give you an example from a personal perspective. Anytime I'd covered an A&M at Iowa State game when they were in the Big 12, parked right by the stadium, walked right up to the press box, nice, settled in, very nice people, name's Iowa. That last time I went, in 2011, when A&M was headed out of the Big 12 and for the SEC, I'm not sure that they parked me in Ames. I might not have even have been in that county. And it was raining that day, and I'm trudging across this cornfield and going, yeah, okay, it's time for the Aggies to go ahead and make that move. And I'm not even an Aggie. Right. So I just cover the program. So anyway, it becomes very awkward across the board if you have some lame duck programs competing in your conference. So I could see it being accelerated.
Can you give us an idea of those that may not be familiar with if this rivalry is rejuvenated between Texas and Texas A&M, just how much hate there is?
Oh, it's incredible. I grew up in this state, in the state of Texas, and from the time I was a little kid, and I wasn't even an Aggie or a Longhorn or whatever, or wouldn't become one of those, but I had family members on both sides, and it was great. It was the biggest sporting event of the year that I look forward to. And I feel for these kind of younger Texans right now who've missed out on it the past decade. But it's continued, and they say the rivalry plays out in recruits' living rooms. Well, that's nice, but I think people want to see it on the field. And like I said, there's going to be an awful lot of slobber coming out of helmets and things like that first meeting, because there's so much pent-up frustration on both sides. And as kind of an eyewitness to it, they need that to let out those frustrations. Like, it's all pent up, and it's been kind of crazy in the past decade, and you don't have that release of an actual game to see what happens on the field. So I, for one, am really looking forward to it. I thought they should have kept playing as non-conference opponents on Thanksgiving weekend. That didn't happen, but now they're going to be forced to play annually, and it's going to be a huge moneymaker for both programs, which, as we know, these programs and these universities are starting to try to figure out where they're going to get their money from moving forward with things like NIL coming into play.
Brent Zwinnerman's joining us here on the Jordy Culotta Show. He's over at the Houston Chronicle covering Texas A&M. He's a great follow on Twitter. You can find him there at his name, at Brent Zwinnerman is the Twitter handle. Yes, last week the media polls came out for the SEC from the preseason and had Texas A&M second in the West behind Alabama and ahead of LSU. How'd you like where the Aggies finished in the pecking order, and where are they under Jimbo Fisher heading into this season?
I think that's about accurate. Their biggest question by far is on the offensive line. They lost 4 starters, so they've got to replace 4 starters. The guy they return is an All-American, Kenyon Green, the left tackle, so obviously that's a key position for him. You've got to replace Kellen Mond, 4-year starter at quarterback, but they have 2 guys that Jimbo Fisher said will be in the NFL at some point, and he knows what that looks like, and Haynes King and Zach Calzada. And you have maybe some of the best running backs in the nation, starting with Isaiah Spiller. So you have some guys you can take the pressure off that O-line, especially take the pressure off the quarterback. The defense was really, really good last year. Just about all those guys are back. I mean, they had 4 or 5 of those super seniors return, which is something because a few of them would have been drafted. So, yeah, things are shaping up for it to be a really exciting season for the Aggies. I've always said if they were ever going to win a division crown, it was going to be in an odd year, because that's when Alabama and Auburn come to Kyle Field with the setup. And so that, Aggies already have October 9th with Nick Saban and crew coming to Town Circle twice on the calendar. So, yeah, it's shaping up as what should be a promising year for the Aggies. They finished 4th in the AP poll last year, which was their highest finish in the AP since they won the national title in 1939, which is incredibly telling, because they've taken a lot of pride in the wrecking crew defenses over the years and everything, but to finally get a top 4 finish, obviously points in the right direction for Jimbo. And what was his 3rd year? In his 4th year at Florida State, he won a national title, and A&M fans are hoping that history repeats itself there. Yeah,
I was going to ask you what the feeling with the locals on Fisher is going into year 4.
Oh, they love him around here, as you can imagine. I mean, he's just a good fit, because A&M has always, as y'all know, it's just a really, really passionate place with a passionate fan base, and that passion hasn't always been matched by the head coaches, whether it's Dennis Franchione or Mike Sherman and Kevin Sumlin. Jimbo is a guy who's all in. I mean, and he is fired up, and y'all are aware of him out there and so forth. And man, he just loves football. He loves coaching football. And in fact, however long ago it was, 5-6 years ago, when it looked like Jimbo was going to be headed to LSU and someone was still around at A&M, I remember thinking, man, these LSU butt kickings at A&M are just going to keep continuing now. They're going to intensify, and really seeing what he's done with A&M in a very short time, it really hasn't changed my opinion in terms of his coaching. And he loves the passion. He loves the fact that 102,000 people are going to pack in there, and that they just live and breathe football around here 365 days a year. I mean, it's an environment y'all are familiar with. I love the games over there. It was just a great setting. So yeah, really look forward to the future. And the fact that, let's say they split it up where Alabama and Auburn go east. And I don't know, I haven't heard anything official on that. But to add Texas and Oklahoma to the schedule for LSU and A&M, I mean, good times ahead. That's my thought.
Will addition of Texas kind of slow down the rivalry talk or the steam between LSU and Texas A&M that it feels like the league is trying to push?
It does, because I think it would be a no-brainer for A&M and Texas to suddenly be back on Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving weekend. And really, we've seen it. I mean, it's been a good little rivalry between LSU and A&M with, then you say you have Houston in common as a recruiting base, East Texas, West Louisiana, and so forth on down the line, and obviously some great storylines that have come from the games over the past few years. But yes, there's no doubt that there is one true rival, and that hasn't changed with them not even playing in football, and that's Texas for the Aggies. Although I do think it could be like the old days when A&M and LSU played as non-conference rivals, and that was a really, really good series back in the day. It would certainly continue to be a marquee matchup. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, A&M would have its rival back, and they're only separated by what I always called 100 country miles here between College Station and Austin. So a whole lot of interaction, a whole lot of family members, all those kind of things that attend both universities.
Last one, Brent. We'll get you out of here. Thank you for your time on this Monday morning. When it comes down to the vote this week, or seemingly this week, of SEC schools, whether or not to allow Texas and Oklahoma into the league, do you anticipate that being 13-1, or do you anticipate Texas A&M voting a yay?
Yeah, and I'm not sure it'll be that quick on the actual vote, because those things are drawn out in terms of they want to. The SEC, as I recall, really wants to make sure it crosses all its T's and dots its I's in this, so there's no question about it. But I do think, going back to the beginning of the conversation, at the very beginning, you could see that A&M's trying to put things in motion. When I say the very beginning, back to Wednesday when the story broke, of trying to line up LSU and Arkansas and Missouri and so forth to try to get those four teams to vote against it, because you've got to have 11 of the 14 to say yes. Right now, I would say it's going to be 14-0, because why would A&M come out and very publicly say that they are in favor of any and all comers, that they trust the SEC moving forward, and then vote against it? So I think it's going to be a unanimous vote.
Brent Zwerneman is over at the Houston Chronicle. He's a fantastic follow on Twitter, especially if you want to keep up with the latest on the Texas A&M news. And as we said, he had the breaking story over at the Chronicle last week of Texas, Oklahoma reaching out to SEC about joining the conference. That has absolutely been an explosion in the college sports world that has everybody talking. So we appreciate, Brent, your time very much here on this Monday morning. Thank you for stopping by.
Enjoyed it. Thank y'all.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you having me on, Jordy. We'll see you.
Yes, sir. There is Brent Zwinnerman checking in from Houston this morning, as he is he's actually over in College Station as he covers A&M over there for the Chronicle, and he was the one who authored and had the source last week of Texas and Oklahoma reaching out to the league about becoming their 15th and 16th members to the Southeastern Conference. And like we said, I haven't seen a news outlet, I haven't seen a website, I haven't seen a message board, I haven't seen anything that covers sports since then that is not talking about this. And as Brent said, this thing could be moving pretty quick, so it could happen very fast as far as the news goes of getting Texas and Oklahoma into the Southeastern Conference. So we'll be on top of it and continue to follow it. Remember, daily, we're brought to you by AdvantaClean over here at the Jordy Culotta Show. Daily, we're brought to you by AdvantaClean, ADVANTA clean.com. Get in touch with Bradley Lynch today if you need any help around the office or around the house with any type of cleaning. If you need fire, water, or mold damage removed from your house or from your office, get in touch with Lynch today over at AdvantaClean. In Baton Rouge, they're located in Industrialplex. They're also online, ADVANTA clean.com, AdvantaClean.com, to get in touch with Bradley Lynch and let him help you out today. Water, fire, mold. You smell it, you see it around the office, the house. Let Bradley help you out with it over at AdvantaClean, a proud sponsor here of the Jordy Culotta Show. We'll come back and have more here as we continue to roll on, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Are you self-employed? then you need to learn about Angel Oak's Home Loans Bank Statement program that they're offering, which makes you eligible as a self-employed borrower to purchase or refinance a home without requiring a tax return. If you want to learn more, get in touch with me. Email me, Jordy@JordyCulottashow.com, to learn about the bank statement loan program offered by Angel Oak. Jordy@JordyCulottashow.com to learn more. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022. 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in Laplace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Welcome back here to a Monday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show. Good stuff from Brent Zwinnerman.
Was good.
I mean, my God, man. Could
Don't
you
know where he went to
imagine
school.
having that story
No.
the way he did on Wednesday morning before everybody else, then not having the Wi-Fi to get it
Oh
out?
my god.
Is that not how life works, though?
That is how life
Yeah.
works.
Is
That
whenever
is
you
100% not how life works.
Exactly. Like, you think you have this thing, like, this should be a great day. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, wait,
Yeah.
I have a flat tire.
Right.
Wait, my internet doesn't work. I can't print this
Yeah.
thing out. And he's the only one that has the scoop, but he still has to feel like somebody's going to beat me to this thing.
No doubt about it,
Like, of
especially
course-
if that is your job.
It's probably the biggest story, like you said, in the last 20 years.
I think if it goes down and it feels like it's going
It's
to go
done.
down,
If A&M's on board, then it's over.
it could be like the tipping point of the biggest story in college football history, in college sports history. I mean, it could be a shakeup that starts just the more
Domino number one.
I thought about this weekend, and like the more this situation continues to boil and bubble. I mean, like the more people talk about this, the Southeastern Conference could be setting themselves up to just be the governing body of
NCAA.
college sports. I mean, think about the way that Greg Sankey has called to task Mark Emmert and the NCAA the last 2 times we've heard him speak, whether it was in Dellinger's piece that was published last Monday or the way that he addressed those details in his opening remarks of SEC Media Days. I mean, Greg Sankey was always guilty of not saying anything. Like, that was his deal. Like, people would say, wow, Sankey, I mean, he's got a great position. He's got a powerful spot, but he doesn't say anything. He didn't do anything. Well, that has been, that's nixed. That's out the door. He is understanding the position that he's in. He sees the size of the vehicle that he's driving and recognizes nobody can keep up. Nobody can play along. And when Mark Emmert is bowing out the way that the NCAA has bowed out of NIL, the way they have bowed out on the transfer, the way that they've bowed out on just having any type of strong voice within the sport. I mean, what do you look for to the NCAA anymore if you're Greg Sankey? Everything that goes through them has to go through your office because you have so much power. If you add Texas and Oklahoma, and that begins the conversation of adding other teams like Clemson, Miami, Florida State, who knows, down the line, I mean, they're the authority of the sport. They're the authority of the college game. Nothing is going to happen without the SEC, or I don't even know if they're continue to be called the Southeastern Conference. I don't know if you just split this thing up like the NFL in football, and you've got an East and a West, and
like
you've got playoffs, and you just get to a point where you've got your own inner workings of playoffs and championships built within. And hey, man, it's your deal. You know, you're the one that has the money. You've got the television rights. You've got the authority to sell it from an advertising standpoint. You're the one making all the money. You're the one that is making the decisions behind everything that's happening with college sports. Why are they not getting to a point where this is where we're headed?
It's almost like Mark Emmert's asking the SEC for permission now. Like, Greg Sankey has 100% just big-dicked the NCAA. He's like, look, this is how we're going to do it. Because, like you said, they have so much control now to where they're looking at the SEC and go, well, I guess that's the way to do it. He stole his job. Like, for all intents and purposes, it feels like Greg Sankey is the NCAA commissioner.
It does.
That's what it feels like. Like, it's been a huge change in dynamic of who has the power. And Greg Sankey said nothing for a long, long time. And it feels like maybe he was just working behind the scenes and getting this thing rolling. Dude, he's like, I'm taking your job.
It is like
that. Y'all are doing it so wrong. Like, let's do it like this. And then he just did it. He just took whatever he gave him an inch, he took a mile.
Yeah.
And now Mark Emmert's sitting on his hands going,
yeah. I mean,
divorced.
He's just kind of accepting it. And
just taking a beating.
The SEC is, I mean, to me, is becoming almost the governing body of college athletics. I mean, when this when this move goes down, which, I mean, it could possibly happen this week, how can you, from a fiscal standpoint, from a financial standpoint, keep up with what they have? I mean, adding Texas alone, financially, that's why this vote is going to be unanimous. That's why Texas A&M had no prayer of trying to rally the troops.
Well, they shifted course so quickly, they're like, what's already happening?
Well, because people were telling them, like, hey, man, you got to get off that island because
stop
nobody's coming
corner.
with you.
Yeah.
Nobody's coming with you because you got to look at the financial impact of this down the road and what it means. I mean, for Texas when they make this choice, that will dissolve the Longhorn network. I mean, there's no way that the SEC is going to say, yeah, we'll let you keep your own television station.
Think about that.
The money that they're sacrificing by giving up your own television station as a sole university, as a sole entity of a university, that you've got your own television station that people are subscribed to, that people are paying, and you're saying, you know what? You can have it. You can just let it go away, let it vanish, let it evaporate, and we want in. We want into the SEC. If it means we've got to give that up, we'll do it. Don't even worry about it. That's $600 million that they're $500 million that they're just washing away and just saying, you know what? Forget that. There's way more money There's so much more money on that island over there. We want to desert this one, and we want to get to that one.
You know what's cooler than $1 million? $1 billion.
Exactly. Exactly.
And if you're Texas A&M, you have to be. That has to be terrifying. The fact that Texas will walk away from the Longhorn Network, because before this happened, I never thought that Texas would even entertain coming to the SEC, and so A&M had to feel so comfortable that they got in before Texas did. And then they see this happen, like, they'll never do that. They'll never get rid of the Longhorn Network. They're Texas.
Yeah.
They want that
They're
shine.
too arrogant.
They're too arrogant. And the fact that they're like, I'll cut my nose off to spite my face, essentially. And then the other thing I find interesting is Texas thinking they're going to be like the new big dick in the room. And I don't think that's how it's going to play out at all.
I would say, I don't know if that's how it's going to play out, but I do say that Texas, with the SEC power in that conference behind their name, with name, image, and likeness now taking shape in the sport, that who's to say the team with the most millionaires is not going to win out?
Yeah.
Right? Who's to say that the team with the highest amount of booster input and the highest amount of booster cash doesn't just say, how much? How much? Steve Sarkisian, let me know how much you need me to hire all these guys for name, image, and likeness every year, and we'll cut the check.
A bar tab. That's all he wants.
That's all it is. And who's to say that that is not the way of how teams compete and win within a name, image, and likeness world? I mean, the fact that the Alabama quarterback has got $1 million in the hole, $1 million in the bank, as to what Saban says on name, image, and likeness stuff, you don't think that's orchestrated by Saban? Really and truly. You don't think that that's Saban calling somebody over there in Alabama, over in Mobile, over in some town that loves the Tide, that says, hey, we've got to be able to keep up with some of these large market teams, with these big market guys. And if Texas, I'd imagine that Saban had some type of line in that, hey, Texas might join y'all's league in the next couple of years. Because Texas is...
They're seeing it happen. They're not dumb.
Right. Mm-hmm. So if who's to say that the team with the big boosters don't become the most relevant? And by all accounts, Steve Sarkisian in Texas is leading this recruitment for Arch Manning. I'm not saying whoever gets Arch Manning is going to win the Super Bowl or win the championship, but Arch Manning is looked at as the darling of the name, image, and likeness recruiting world. He's the 5-star quarterback with the 5-star last name, coming from the 5-star family, and everybody wants him on campus. And Texas right now is it seems like, I don't know this, but if you just read, talk to recruiters, talk to people who are kind of on the inside of it, say that Texas is sitting in a really good spot. If the SEC is behind Texas's name by the time Arch Manning signs his letter of intent, don't think he's not coming with a crowd, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's coming with a crew. And I think that LSU could be one of the teams in the SEC that's not thrown to the back of the conference, but may suffer a little bit because of teams like that putting a premium on recruiting to that nature. Because while LSU has a lot of passionate and diehard people within their fan base, and there is a specific group within that diehard fan base that has a lot of money, that doesn't stack up to the ones that Alabama have, to Texas A&M, to Texas, to Arkansas, to even schools like Alabama. I mean, Alabama has a ton of millionaires. In fact, Nick Saban told a great story to just a mutual friend of mine. If you remember, Nick Saban's best friend when he was in Baton Rouge was Richard Gill. And still to this day, him and Lenny Lemoyne, the CEO of Lemoyne Construction, who owns Lemoyne Construction, he may not own it anymore. He may have passed it down to his sons. But Lenny still and Nick Saban are still as thick as thieves. I mean, they're super tight from Saban's days here. But Richard Gill was Saban's, really his go-to guy when Saban needed access to a private plane. And Richard Gill was the CEO of Shaw, the Shaw Group, which was I believe it was a Fortune 500 company here in Baton Rouge. It was based out of Baton Rouge, and Jim Bernard had sold it and now is doing another project. But at the time, Shaw Enterprises really kind of was thought of, up there with Turner Industries as two of the biggest companies in the state and the most wealthiest. And Richard Gill was the CEO of that company. Nick Saban and Richard Gill were best friends because if Saban needed a favor, Gill would always comply. And specifically stuff like that. Needed private air to go visit a recruit, or may need a summer job for a big-time guy coming in. Whatever it may be, they were right there. But he told Gill within his first couple of years at the Alabama job that there was a list of 10 guys at LSU that he could call and get just about anything done. If he needed it done, there was a list of 10 guys that he trusted, that he knew that if he needed something done, he could get it done. He told Gill at Alabama that list is 50.
Man.
100. He said there's guys with money that are lined up around the building wanting to know how much and when they can cut the check. When can I cut the check to you, coach, to the program, to anyone to support? And they've got just millions of dollars.
We need a list of 10 guys here.
When you think about it, Nick Saban invented the game. Like, that's his game. With of course, he started off with 10, and now you follow him, follow where he is now. Of course, he has 50 people because look at what he's built and look what he's done. Jesus.
And he showed that blueprint to Jimbo Fisher. He's shown that blueprint to Kirby Smart. He's shown that blueprint to all of them that have come through there. Lane Kiffin, absolutely.
And then he said, you better not go to LSU because you have the blueprint.
No, he didn't tell him that. He told Jimmy Sexton he's not going to LSU.
It's not, you better.
Get him a head coaching job.
That list got to 51.
Exactly. So it's interesting to think about what happens in a name, image, and likeness world where you've got a school like Texas that has all types of FU money. And boosters in Austin and in and around Texas's athletic department, they want to throw it on the table. They want to show you, especially if you bring them into the league like the SEC, where everybody wants to be bigger and better than the next guy. Everybody wants to have the biggest, shiniest, newest toy. Texas can pull up to the party and drop as much as you need on whatever they need to make them immediately relevant. And in a world of today where you can just start openly paying players, hey man, who's to say that the biggest booster crowd doesn't win?
And you're telling me that, imagine you're Steve Sarkisian and you have Arch Manning coming to this recruiting pitch and you go, guess what else we can do? Dude, we're joining the SEC. Like, you're the only person I'm going to tell right now. Like, does that not make Texas so much more appealing if Arch Manning walks in and is like, look, I know we're the Big 12 right now, but look, in 3 months,
no doubt,
we're going to be in the SEC.
Yes.
And he's like, I'm not telling anybody but you.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That changes the entire dynamic of what you're pitching him.
It seems like Sarkisian has done a tremendous job in recruiting Arch Manning. I mean, like, it could be by all accounts. And then you think about what could potentially be with the SEC and name, image, and likeness and boosters. And, I mean, there was reports 2 weeks ago where Arch Manning could demand $10 million in his freshman season as a player. Now, that would be nuts. That would be crazy. I
can see it happening.
But go to Texas and it'll happen.
Yeah.
But especially when you have Alabama's quarterback that hasn't started a game yet, already demanding,
right?
He's already going to make $1 million. So you have Arch Manning for, he's a junior this year, so we're not even getting there yet.
Right.
Like, you have 3 years to set this thing up for Arch Manning. Of course he might make $10 million.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, I mean, that's what Saban is recruiting to Arch Manning. Look at Bryce Young. He hadn't even taken a snap yet, and he's already got $1 million in the bank.
Yeah, that's
Think
quite a
about what
recruiting
you're
tool.
going to look like when your summer of recruiting and you choose Alabama. I'll have you $5 million in the bank before you even step on campus. And all that is for Saban is 2 calls of, hey, man, get my guy a couple of off-the-field endorsements where you can pay him this. I mean, those guys, that phone call from Saban is enough to cut a check for however much you need, Coach. Whatever you need, we're in. I mean, just because we're talking to you means enough. I mean, Orgeron doesn't have access to those people. He's got access to millionaires, and he's got access to millionaires that want to do him favors. He doesn't have access to as many millionaires that want to do him favors as his rivals do. Jimbo Fisher, Nick Saban, possibly Steve Sarkisian. Because if Texas gets in the league, those are the three teams that you're worried the most about. Alabama coming in your backyard and plucking recruits, and then Texas and Texas A&M cornering Texas and taking away the recruits you've been able to cherry pick out of there the last couple of seasons. The Jamal Adams and Calevon Chassons of the world. You know what I mean? Think about if Texas is in the SEC and you're recruiting against the Longhorns for Chasson like you were a couple of years ago.
Because,
Chasson said really kind of the winning deal was that they were in the Southeastern Conference. So if Texas is throwing that they're a part of the SEC on a recruits table, coffee table in Houston, and you're recruiting against LSU, and LSU's selling you on we're the Southeastern Conference, and Texas comes in with the SEC logo. Texas's door, Texas's pipeline to Baton Rouge doesn't seem as healthy as it once was.
So what do you think the Big 12? Do you think the Big 12 will make like a last-ditch effort to try to keep Texas and Oklahoma?
It's over.
It's totally done.
I think yesterday the Big 12 finally got it confirmed to them when they talked to the Texas and Oklahoma presidents. You know what I mean? I think first off, them not showing up on that Thursday conference call when you had every member of the Big 12 there except for Texas and Oklahoma, that's really kind of all you need to see, right?
Yeah.
at that point, you knew it was over.
She's not answering your calls.
Yeah,
bro.
right. She's not even showing up. She's not showing up.
Is that you?
Yeah, right. And then you go to a call where you hear Ross Bjork, the athletics director for Texas A&M, totally change his tone. He went from bitching and complaining on Wednesday at SEC Media Days to not letting this happen to Sunday saying we support anything that goes down, which means that behind closed doors he's been said, hey, Ross, better dry your eyes because it's happening. Unless you want to continue to sound like a brat in public, like a little spoiled, rotten brat,
Keep getting
you need to
dunked on.
start, you need to grab your balls and make a statement saying that we support it because it's happening, buddy. And if y'all don't support it, we don't care. So that needs to be your stance, and that's what Texas A&M was chirping yesterday. This is happening. This is going down. So when that does happen, LSU's biggest rivals, at least from a recruiting standpoint, is going to be Alabama, Texas, and A&M. Texas A&M, and Alabama is LSU's biggest competitors.
If you had to power rank the teams most affected, A&M is obviously one. Is LSU in that 2 to 3 category? Because of, like you said, LSU takes so many recruits from Texas. Now that they have the selling point of the SEC, is LSU probably? I feel like I was on board with this, but now the more I'm talking about it, I kind of prefer this not to happen.
Which part?
All of it. I don't want Texas coming into the SEC. Like that was LSU's whole selling point. Is like, well, we're the SEC.
Yeah,
and so that's how you can go cherry pick.
This you could argue.
Like the teams most affected by
you could argue expansion to the SEC is not good for LSU. Mm-hmm. Bringing in Texas to the league is borderline devastating to LSU in a sense of it changes your path. It changes the way that you operate. It changes the way that you day-to-day function in the message that you sell to recruits. Because a lot of the wins that you had versus Texas were based on that you were playing in the SEC, right? And even in today's world where name, image, and likeness, I think that the bigger threat for the rest of the league of Texas coming in is that they got more money than you. They got more money than you, and they love to tell you and show you that they have more money than you. And in a world of college football where they're now they're dancing with the prettiest chick, where they're dancing at the SEC party, where everybody around them is big, beautiful. Everybody loves themselves, and everybody wants to talk about how much money they got. None of y'all have it like Texas has it. Nobody. And if that's what it means to stay relevant, then we'll just come in here and smother everybody with cash. You know what I mean? Like whoever needs money to get to Austin, we're going to pay. And if it means that we got to outbid Alabama by $500,000, we got no issue doing that. And LSU is going to run into a dead end, into the end of the line a lot faster than some of these schools when it becomes a pissing contest.
Right.
When it becomes a, hey, just how much money do we have to throw out there and show them that we're relevant?
The best thing that LSU had going for them was that Texas isn't invited to the party, and then they just said, "Well, I'll just buy the party. I'll buy the building."
Exactly.
And now they're here. They're coming, and this is borderline. Like, this is detrimental to what LSU is building, because, like you said, you have to change the message, because you would go into Texas and say, "Come join the SEC." Like, that's the selling point, and now Texas can do the same message.
Jeff Marson, this is fun talk, but money and conference don't change that Texas is second tier in competition and results. Yeah, but Jeff, now they're starting to get players, and that's the difference. When they start to get the players, they'll be back, because that's what it's about. Texas hadn't had a first-round draft pick in over like a decade.
Michael Griffin.
So, I mean, it was something stupid that they hadn't had somebody draft. They hadn't had any players. I mean, they've had nobody that could recruit it for whatever reason. If you put them in the SEC in a name, image, and likeness world where money talks, well, Texas overnight is relevant again.
Yeah, that changes everything.
They're overnight, they are back.
With Arch.
And if Arch goes there.
And even if Arch doesn't go there, they will have a quarterback under Steve Sarkisian that can pull the trigger. But right now, it seems like they're sitting in a really good spot for Arch.
Why do you think that it feels like the SEC likes this? Like, fans of even LSU are like, this is a good thing.
It does.
Seems like it's a bad thing.
Well, you did too until you just started
well, now I'm thinking about it.
I mean,
I was never concerned about Texas because they're Texas.
Yeah.
But, like, Oklahoma is somebody that I would be nervous about to play every year because they get players like Lincoln Riley. Yes,
they get 5-star quarterbacks.
They got Caleb Williams going there, and he's a
Right.
stud. But it feels like this was like a harmonious message throughout the conference that everybody was excited about them
They
joining.
are, because the money.
Yeah.
The
But when did it
windfall.
affect me? I don't give a shit. I
Yeah,
don't
well, they're
want to lose to
not.
Texas.
They're not voting on your. On
No,
you.
I'm talking about fandom. Like, fans
Yeah,
of
no.
LSU is excited that this is happening, but it feels like you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Well, I don't understand. I can't explain the fans' enthusiasm for this because, I think you would want to keep it kind of
The way it
as
is.
if you think about giving yourself the most competitive advantage in college football. And I speak more on that specifically to recruiting. This is where you lose the most in adding Texas and Oklahoma. I mean, we're not even really talking about Oklahoma,
Crazy.
which is crazy. And that's, one of the top 5 most powerful brands in the sport. But when you piggyback along with Texas, it just gives you an idea of how strong and powerful that brand is.
That's crazy that we're just not talking about Oklahoma, and that's the team that you see in the
In the
playoff
playoff
every
every year.
year. And it's like, no, we're worried about Texas because it's a sleeping giant, dude. If they get this thing rolling the way that it becomes another perennial power, you would say Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and if you put Texas in that fold, it gets that much harder for LSU to even. And then you expand the playoff to 12 teams. Are you kidding me?
Texas is sitting in the best seat there is as far as the new rules of college football. Like, where college football is headed is almost built for Texas, USC, Miami. Some of the most powerful brands that the sport has seen should be able to surge back because of the way of. If I'm Miami, I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling Greg Sankey. I'm calling Greg Sankey. I'm saying, get me in. You want Texas and Oklahoma? I want to be at that party too. We have that type of brand. And then you start selling the SEC brand in South Florida with those types of boosters.
And then you get Florida State on the
Because
phone.
they got a lot of millionaires. Then I'm calling Clemson. If I'm Sankey, which I could be happening, I'm calling Ohio State. I'm calling USC. We don't have to call this thing the Southeastern Conference anymore. We can call it whatever you want. We're the new governing body of college sports.
And Mark,
I want everybody. I want everybody who's relevant out there. If you think you're relevant, call me. If you think you want to dance with the biggest and the baddest, call me. Because that's what we're going to be. And to me, if I'm Miami and you've got the SEC logo behind my brand and you've got all these millionaires, you've already seen it, that a guy in South Florida who owns MMA gyms is already saying, hey, if you have a scholarship to play football at Miami, I'll pay you $500 a month. Every single one of you will get $500 a month until the day you graduate if you want to promote what we've got selling. Who's to say 3 more don't come in there and say, hey, we'll pay you $1,000 a month. We'll pay you $2,000. We'll pay the starting 22 at Miami, USC, Texas. We'll pay you guys $3,000 a month. If you're on the starting 22, or if you're on a starting unit, special teams, offense, defense for the University of Ohio State, for the University of Miami, Texas, wherever, USC. You know how many boosters there are in Los Angeles that have USC ties that would love to give $1 million to the football program and be relevant and do it legally and say, hey, man, here's $1 million in cash. Spend it how you want it. But just give me full access. You got it. You know how many of those guys are down in Miami? What was that guy, that fake tan guy with the steroided up, juiced up guy that they gave access to that would let them run out? He was blowing the smoke. That he was blowing the smoke machine.
It started at Shapiro and something like that. Yeah,
and he's like
paid for abortions.
He's like bringing them to the club and like paying for that. I mean, it was egregious, but he just wanted in. He just wanted the access. Now you call that guy Nevin Shapiro.
Nice.
Nevin Shapiro. Now you call Nevin and say, hey, Nev, bro, forget all the illegal shit.
You're back in.
You're in. Just all we need is you to cut that check for us. That's all we need. You don't have to. We'll give you the access. But you know how many Nevin Shapiros there are in South Florida for the University of Miami, Florida program? You know how many guys? You know how many hillbillies are in Austin driving drop-top Cadillac, boss hog Cadillacs?
My constituents.
That just say, hey, if Steve Sarkisian called him today and said, hey, man, you got $1 million that you can donate. Hey, absolutely, you take cash?
I got Arch Manning on line 3.
Exactly.
Okay.
Call your 2 buddies. You know what I mean? Like, get them in. LSU can't run in that world. They can't run as fast as they're running right now. LSU's still a powerful, strong brand, and they still have a lot of obsessive people behind the brand that will do anything for it financially. But they don't have as many as those big market teams do. They don't have as many as Alabama does. They don't have as many as Auburn does.
And a lot of those people are in Texas.
Mm-hmm. So do you think after Texas and Oklahoma come in, the others will just start to follow quickly?
I think that's happening right now. I think people see the writing on the wall and say that in 3 to 5 years, this thing is going to be a monster. It's going to be completely different. I don't even think you need the NCAA. Really, I don't. I mean, somebody was DMing me the other day saying it shows how stupid you are that you think the NCAA can't exist. Like, how do you see it existing? They've shown no terms of adapting. They've shown no means of changing. When everything is changing in front of their face, they're still stuck 25 years ago.
Mark Emmert got a raise.
I think Greg Sankey, by the comments that he's made to Dellinger, by the way he opened up media days, by the way that he has not put this story out, he's not stepped up and say, hey, let me just kill this story right now. Texas and Oklahoma are not joining our league. That's not happening. Why has he not said that? Because it's happening behind closed doors. And he realizes, look at his statements to Dellinger last Monday in that article that Dellinger published over at SI. I mean, he goes at the NCAA. He goes at Emmert's neck. Greg Sankey was famous for nothing a year and a half ago. Nothing. He was famous for setting himself up for one of the most powerful job in sports. Over the last year and a half, he has rocket launched himself into the driver's seat of becoming the most powerful man in college sports. He is sitting in that position today, embracing it, talking to people around him like he is that. And when this Texas and Oklahoma stuff goes down, to me, that just opens up the floodgates and says, who wants in?
Yeah.
Who wants in? Because 3 years from now, we're going to be splitting this thing up, and we're going to go this side, East versus West, a playoff structure where they play one another, and the 2 champs of the West champ and the East champ are going to play each other, and the winner is the national champ. We got the biggest television contract in sports, in college sports. You've got ownership over the playoff because it's your conference, so all the money's coming in. The money is windfalling in. Like we said 30 minutes ago, Texas is sacrificing their own television station to get into the league. Once Texas is in the SEC, the Longhorn network dissolves. It's gone. Somebody in Austin had to make that decision. Somebody's saying, yeah, the $500 million that we're leaving on the table for the Longhorn network, there's that much more money in the SEC. Screw that station. Get in the league. I mean, that's what's happening, and that's what's, in my opinion, coming to college sports. And that's why if I'm Miami, if I'm Florida State, if I'm Clemson, if I'm Ohio State, if I'm UCLA, if I'm USC, if I'm Oregon, if I'm Arizona State, if I'm somebody within the college football ranks that wants to be relevant and wants to stay with some power and wants to be where everybody's looking, watching, paying, making money, I'm calling Sankey. And I'm asking, what do we need? You know? I mean, Rob Boudreaux, is the sky falling? LSU should just get rid of football? If you want to take it like that, Rob, you can. You want to blow it up? You can. But you also have to recognize with the addition of some powers that LSU is, their fight just got a little bit more. I mean, that it's a bigger fight than they're fighting today.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not saying that they can't win. I'm not saying that they can't still be a power player within college football. But when you bring those schools in, I mean, you tell me, Rob, can LSU's alumni compete with Texas's alumni base? And when it comes down to recruiting name, image, and likeness in the same league, how does LSU win those wars? Because not every kid gives a damn about the purple and gold. Nobody really cares, to the point that we do, you do, fans do on your program. When you start putting real, legal now money in front of recruits' face, and you can just keep stacking the cash, it just becomes a bidding war, legally.
Yeah.
That's what it's become. That's what it's been behind closed doors and under the table for so long. But now, I mean, it's all legal. So
It's happening right in front of your face.
I know.
yeah,
It's a windfall. This is a huge moment in college athletics, not only because of where LSU stands, but Texas coming into the SEC, and then what's the next domino to fall? Mm-hmm. Like you said, is it a Miami? Is it a Clemson? Then if you have Miami, it becomes Miami, then Florida State wants to come in. You have another rivalry that's a part of this super conference where we have 16 teams. Now that you make it 18, then you make it 20, and then where do you stop?
Yeah.
And then they have this playoff that is supposed to be on the horizon. And how does that work in? Like, how long have they been thinking about this? Where you have the playoff that they announced, like, well, SEC, Texas is going to join. And then we have the 12-team playoff that's coming up. It is monster.
I think the NCAA allowed this to happen to themselves with the way that they've handled their investigations, their punishments over the last couple of seasons. I think that the SEC has seen that the NCAA is toothless, that they've got no fight, that they've got no structure, that they've got nothing in place to penalize, to govern, to oversee the game, to oversee the sport. I mean, the fact that nothing has been ruled on some of those college basketball teams, that things that it started on in 2017, is the greatest example that we can give to the NCAA just being weightless. They are toothless. They're no threat to anything in the way that it exists today. And that Sankey probably said, you know what? It's time to make our move. It's time to make the move. Because name, image, and likeness is coming down the pipe, and everything is going to change with the landscape of college sports. So we need to adapt. We need to be in front of this. And that the SEC sitting in the driver's seat where they are, they're going to be the authority of the sport within 2 years.
And then if you're LSU, you have to go, why is our compliance department like this still? Like, why are we governing ourselves so strictly whenever there is no NCAA technically? Like, it feels like that's not who's ruling down when Darrell Rosenthal has to leave. It's LSU doing that to LSU. Mm-hmm. There's no other person, like, giving the ruling down to, like, passing it down to LSU. LSU's doing that to themselves.
Right.
And then so if you, in this scenario, there is no NCAA. Like, why are you even concerned about that? Like, why are you concerned about a drug test? Because, hey, the other 11 teams in the SEC aren't.
It's fair, man. It's fair.
And then you join, and then Texas comes in, and it's like they're not going to care about it either. So LSU has to adapt or die.
All right, that is Monday's show in the book. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning on Tuesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show. Appreciate everybody's interaction. Make sure you like, share, comment on the post. We appreciate that very much. Thank you for being here. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Tell a friend as Go Chevrolet drives us every single day. GEAUXChevrolet.com. Back with you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. here on the Jordy Culotta Show.